I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
The art of racing in the rain is over. I will walk among my fellow man, lick my lips with my small dexterous tongue, and shake hands with a firm grasp. I would like to open this conversation with an apology.
Oh, okay.
I had not seen this movie. It came highly recommended, clearly by somebody who did not know what a dog movie was or a racing movie, predominantly the latter.
Well, it's not completely your fault, Pete, because there were a few sets of films where you had picked a few options, and I believe the option that you gave to me was we can either watch the latest of the Jack Ryan films, Shadow Recruit, or we can watch The Art of Racing in the Rain. Like you hadn't quite decided, and you gave me that option. And last season I was like, I'm not picking anything that I've seen before. And so I went with the one that I hadn't seen before, which was The Art of Racing in the Rain. And so here we are.
Okay, so it's a bed that we made together.
Yes. Yeah, you started making it, and then I just tucked the sheets in nicely.
Okay, all right. Okay, so where to begin? I know you've written your review. I have not read it. I don't know where we landed.
Well, as a way to kind of kick things off, I just want to, since in our member pre-show chat, we talked about dog movies, and we had kind of like a whole variety of different dog movies. Where do you stand with the dog movie? Is it a subgenre you enjoy? Do you like having your heart tugged? Do you get into like the emotional manipulation through animals in this way?
Yes, I do. Do I enjoy that? Not really. Especially dogs. Like I feel a little bit like I'm always anxious that they're going to kill the dog. They're going to find a way to kill the dog. The dog dying of old age is generally okay. But if they kill the dog some other way, like through an act of violence, I just don't connect with that. It throws me right out of the movie. That feels manipulative in a way that dogs dying of old age somehow does not.
Interesting. I when I was a kid, there was a book that I got through like the Scholastic book club thing that you would get in elementary school.
Oh yeah.
It was called Max, the Dog That Refused to Die. I loved that book so much. It was about a Doberman who was with his family and got left behind or lost. I can't remember exactly, and injured. And it's based on a true story, and then had to use his survival instincts to try figuring out how to get back to the cabin or whatever that his family was staying in. And so like, I don't know, I've just grown up with those sorts of stories. And as a kid, we are watching all sorts of movies through either animated films or not, things like The Incredible Journey, where anthropomorphized animals are like a core part of kind of our growing up. Like we're putting these human instincts onto other creatures so that we can more personally kind of connect with them. And I think that's a huge part of the dog movie subgenre, whether it's a dramatic story or a comedy or an animated one, whatever the case may be. It's a big part of it. And I don't know if the core nature of them is designed to just be so completely manipulative and like be designed to break our heart if the dog dies, gets lost, things like that. But I think it's easy to get people on board when you do that with your story, because I think animals, we just love our pets and they're so easy to connect with. And so there is an element of that I think, I don't necessarily think it's wrong to make stories that way. I think there's a lot of people who just absolutely adore watching those types of movies and connecting with those types of movies. But I do think it makes for an easy way to craft a story, because in some way you're getting an audience buy-in just by the premise. And it allows you to perhaps play a little more simply with, plot points, emotions, things like that, as you then kind of craft the story and everything.
Yeah, I think you get away, like having a dog sort of principal character, you get away with a lot of shorthand around ideologies and belief systems that we also wrestle with applying to humans. And in this movie especially, we're dealing with reincarnation. We're dealing with, belief and identity and limitations of communication and all of these things that we sometimes struggle with as humans. And with a dog, it's just easy for us all to just accept, yeah, that's really hard. It makes with the dog struggles, my heart aches. But my heart aches because I relate to the dog, and I also relate to my own struggles with that. And we also, I think we're just naturally, heavy-hearted when it comes to relationships between dogs and kids. We've got dogs and kids in this movie. And how many hero shots do we have of dog in car, which is just cute? And don't we all want a dog that doesn't completely spaz out when you put it in a car? I don't have that dog. Like, it's impossible to drive because my dog likes to be everywhere. And so, that's sort of aspirational too. So
that's a funny,
it's got something.
Funny note. Yeah. Well, yeah. And I suppose like that's the thing with a dog film, is that you're crafting a story that it's going to be an easy thing for an audience to click with right away, because they know what they're getting into, and that's really where the core of this film is. And in the scope of dog movie, racing movie, it's definitely, I think it definitely leans in the dog movie relationships side of the story, as opposed to the racing side of the story.
I would agree. It is much, much more a dog movie than it is a racing movie. Much more. And that's fine. Disappointing for this series, for sure. I was hoping for more racing. I don't know if I wanted the dog to actually be the driver, but I might have settled for that compared to what we got. So context was off for this movie. I went into it wanting one thing, and I got something very different. Is there stuff that's kind of adorable about it? Sure. Sure. I guess it is, but for the most part, it didn't land very well with me.
No, and I think that's where I sit with it is, and I'm not coming into it like you are, other than the context of our series being a car racing series in which this is the final entry. I'm not coming into it like hoping for great race scenes or anything like that. I just but to that end, even I could tell, well, it's not really a racing movie. Like, it's like
even you,
yeah, right. The racing is pretty mild. Just as a way to kick things off, though, before we get into the crux of the story, since the racing is the smallest part of the story, other than kind of thematically, it's worth just talking a little bit about this racing world in which Denny, our protagonist, is in, because it seems to a certain extent like he's I don't know, what is it, like he's like in a lesser circuit or something? Like what's the story?
He's kind of a hired gun looking for a seat, right? Like he just wants to work for a team and move up in the ranks of racing just to get his big shot, right? He's He's like the sort of touring road band just waiting for the next theater or auditorium gig, right? Like just trying to work up to a deal. And I think a lot of drivers, before they settle on a particular class of car, really just learn to be jacks of all trades and drive anything with wheels so that they can move up. And this was, this is Denny just wanting a shot eventually at, getting on an F1 team.
Because he doesn't, I'm trying to remember, like, where does he end up racing? Like, what would you say the races are? Are they just like little local races that he would be in, that we see him the few times that he's racing?
Yeah, because I don't think he ever gets to one of the big races like Daytona. They're all just little circuit races. I don't think he ever gets on a, or maybe he does, there's that sort of montage area but they're never really very specific about it.
Well, and even when he does go on something, it's like we're staying at home with the dog and the family, and he comes back and is like, I won. So there's a lot of that sort of stuff that happens. So I guess it's harder to tell the specifics of what he's actually doing, because the way that the story is structured is like, we're not necessarily there along for the ride. Yeah.
And the end of the movie is, they move, right? He is right. He gets a shot to move,
but it's not even to race.
Right. It's to, test.
He's like,
and
he's a test driver of new cars is what it sounded like.
Right. But you know what? So was Ken Miles. You never know.
Yeah. Good point. Well, and and that's interesting because and he does go to Daytona. That's where he is when his daughter's born.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So he got to Daytona, and we do get some of the day-night stuff in Daytona a little bit, and rain. Well, don't forget, there's some racing in the rain, because racers who are, when racers are really good, they control the weather.
Well, and so there's the racing stuff is minor, and but it plays into our protagonist's character, because he grew, or I don't know, he's just kind of like one of these people who has to race, and it really kind of from there informs the rest of our story, because it's really about a relationship with his wife Eve, or his girlfriend and then wife, and then mother of his daughter. We have that whole relationship, and the racing comes in as a key element of conflict between her parents, who look down upon someone who's but a car racer, and kind of like the family unit that he's trying to create. Like that becomes a key part. And I suppose in the scope of our racing series so far, in every single film we have dealt with, aside from the world of the track, there's also the struggle of relationships off the track.
Yes. Yeah, that's a pretty important trope, I think, to these things, because it's not, I think it's not just complicated by the fact that this is a person who's essentially a roadie, right? They just are constantly going from track to track, and it means they're away from home for long periods of time. But also, the reason they're away from home puts their lives on the line every time they do their job. And so I think that adds just sort of an extra layer of complication, emotional complication. In this movie, it's that, Eve's parents, I think, even as much as they look down on the job itself, largely because he's not terribly successful at it right away, but the fact that as a parent, they see it as irresponsible that he goes and does this job when he has this child and no help at home as Eve passes away. So I get it. I do get it. It felt, the arc of losing Eve and the parental sort of manipulation started feeling pretty saccharine to me. And I don't know if that comes from the book. I haven't read the book. And maybe it was fantastic, and also as heart-wrenching as this. Maybe it leveled up on the family drama. I don't know, but it felt to me like this was a bit heavy-handed, and you can feel it around every corner of the script, whether it's how the characters, particularly the dog, speaks. It felt a little bit like the feeling I get when I watch Dawson's Creek. Like, everyone speaks at a level that is just slightly unbelievable. And I don't think Kevin Costner would ever say the words dexterous tongue.
Well, more people need to say dexterous tongue. See, I can't even say it.
Because you don't talk that way.
Tongue. Well, my tongue's not dexterous enough.
You still can't say it. Now you've practiced it twice.
I said it fine that last time.
Oh, no, you'll hear it in the edit. Your tongue.
That was I want to get all to the saccharine stuff, but I want to get all the driving stuff out of the way before we move on to the real the bulk of our conversation. My last point that I have with all this racing element is really it ties to the theme, because of all of the movies in our series, we didn't talk about this during Rush, but I don't know if we've talked about this at all, but the first two films in our series, Grand Prix and Le Mans, are basically named as such because that happens to be the race that they're competing in. Mm-hmm. Not exactly creative names, but at least it gives you a sense as to what our world is going to be, right? And then you have Rush, which is the worst title in the series because it gives you no context for what's going on. It's just I guess in the case of the story, it's the adjective describing the feel they have when they're racing. And it's a terrible name for the film. Like and we didn't talk about it in our conversation, but we should have, because it's just an awful name that just doesn't do much to really define what it is we're about to watch. Mm-hmm. Ford v Ferrari pretty much spells it out. But as we discussed in that film, it's not really about Ford v Ferrari. Yes, it's kind of the setup of the story, but it's really about the people, not so much that battle. But of all the films, like this one, I actually felt like is the most creative and interesting title of the bunch, because it actually goes into the thematic element of our story, of this idea of the trick that comes in understanding how to actually navigate in wet weather on a racetrack. And we get that spelled out pretty clearly over the course of the story a number of times. But I do find it to be interesting because it sets up how Denny is very, very strong at knowing how to work on wet racetracks. As you just mentioned earlier, that's really what leads him to winning at Daytona, because once the rain starts, he is in his element and he's able to navigate around and get himself into first place. Mm-hmm. But also in the scope of the story, it's thematically like showing how to kind of like navigate through life's twists and turns and all of these like negative things that perhaps are thrown at you. And so of all the titles, I actually think this is my favorite of the bunch because of how it connects to the theme.
Yeah, no, I get that. And you're right. Rush is the worst. I mean, if we're going to rank them, I like this one. I just, I feel like I should have known what kind of movie it was going to be by the title. My preference would be Ford v Ferrari, because I actually think it's about Henry Ford and Enzo Ferrari, and you didn't like that very much. But I do get it, and it is definitely the most artful. Like it's got the most heart.
Well, maybe that's why I like it, because of all of the elements of this film, and now we may as well talk about it. That's the only artful thing in the whole film. maybe not the only, but I'm just being cheeky. But it is something that stands out as having some actual thought and creativity put into it, whereas the story as a whole doesn't necessarily work to be as original.
Yeah, this movie is a Pinterest board, man. Like this movie is, it's like, okay, here we go. There are the things. There's the marriage and the cancer and the custody battle, and then there's death and reincarnation, and it's all through the eyes of this dog. And I found that so on the nose that I kind of couldn't believe what I was watching. I did not connect with it. This is a movie that was not made for me, for sure.
Nor me. No, I appreciate that, we talked about this in our pre-show, like all these different dog movies and everything. Like the dog movie story can be such a simple way to get an audience on board. Yeah. And this film is told from the perspective, and it's, generally through flashback, because at the beginning of the film, we have Denny coming home and his dog Enzo is laying on the floor dying essentially. And then the dog proceeds to tell us the entire his life story of when Denny first adopted him all the way through everything. And you get the life's ups and downs and as you said, the marriage and, the meeting and the marriage and the kid and the cancer and the custody and everything comes to play in this film, but in a way where and I can appreciate stories that are designed to just manipulate me. As long as I can tap into the characters and feel some sense of just the way that they're structured, I can feel is I can buy into it more. And here I just felt like everything was so designed specifically just for the easy way to kind of get the emotions out. And so I couldn't, from the jump, I could not get into this film. And I just felt like I was watching it on the outside of them going through the motions of working to manipulate the audience. That's just how I felt watching the entire thing.
I want to ask you about the framing mechanism, because you brought up starting with the dog, in its own mess. And so beginning with the end, it tells us right up front the dog is going to die. Normally, I hate framing mechanisms like this. I wonder if there's a different calculus that goes into it with a dog movie in particular. Did that work for you? I mean, obviously the movie didn't work for either of us, so I'm just sort of speaking abstractly.
Interestingly, that played fine for me. And I think it boils down to the fact, aside from the incredible anthropomorphizing of the dog to the point where the dog is essentially a human trapped in the body of a dog. I mean, that's the level this movie goes. Talking at a college level vocabulary and able to not just watch TV, but understand everything that he's watching. Essentially, understanding English is basically what the film is implying. And it's like, and let me answer your question before I go down that tangent. The film talks about how, or Enzo, the dog, talks about how he had seen this documentary called State of Dogs, which is a real documentary, a Mongolian documentary from 1998. And it follows the life and death of a stray dog named Basar. And it talks about Mongolians and their belief in reincarnation, and where dogs are believed to be reborn as humans. And so that's a real belief, a real documentary about this particular thing. And the fact that Enzo has seen that, understood it, and is talking about it, for me, made that framing mechanism work, because he's now in this place where he's thinking about his own death and hoping beyond hope, as he has said throughout the film, that he's done kind of reincarnating into the body of another dog, and he's ready for that final jump of moving into the body of a human. And that, because of that conversation about that documentary, that made the framing mechanism work for me.
Okay. I think maybe it's okay with me, this particular framing mechanism, because like I said before, I kind of resent when, dog movies kill the animals. So knowing that the dog was gonna die was a dose of reality that I could kind of truck with. I was okay with that too. But staying on the dog, Kevin Costner. You already complain, rightly so, about the character of the dog, the sophistication of the dog. I struggled to buy into that, and I know that this movie isn't for me because I didn't like that part. I didn't feel like the perspective of the dog was. I just never really connected with it. The fact that they gave the voice to old Kevin Costner was interesting to me, because I'm on the record as saying old Kevin Costner is a Kevin Costner I can get behind. But this golden retriever puppy sounded the same as the old dying dog. And most of the movie is about this like embodiment of joy and boundless energy in this dog. And I thought that was such a high jump meets low ceiling kind of a character positioning that it was comical for the wrong reason. Did you have any of that?
Well, no, because, and maybe it's one of us reading it wrong, but never are we hearing the dog talk as a young dog. We're only ever hearing
through
it
flashback
as the old dog looking back on his life. So it wouldn't make sense to, like, they would have had to cast different actors to play the dog at different points if we didn't have the framing mechanism.
Right.
So again, because we have that framing mechanism, it gives them the chance to say, old man Costner is going to be old man Enzo, old dog Enzo.
Yeah. Yes. Which it might be okay. This is my challenge with it, right? My challenge is that, like, I understand the framing mechanism. I understand why we only hear him in the past. I could not get past that iconic Costner gravelly voice when overlaid on top of the younger dog. Like, I couldn't get past it. Hearing Costner took me out of the movie in a way that I don't think they obviously intended.
I had no issue with that. Like, I wonder if your issue isn't so much Costner. I mean, I know it perhaps is, because I know you have an issue with Costner. I don't think I even knew you liked Costner now. I thought you still called him 2x4 and just pretty much had constant issues with anything Costner was in. But for me,
I'm the worst.
It boils down less to the fact that Costner is the voice and more to just the fact that the script isn't good. Like, it's easy lines, it's easy jokes, like everything goes for, that base level of humor that is just, it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's probably easy to write when you're crafting something from a dog's perspective, because it allows you to just mine those little jokes that, that you get, like the dog's perspective of Eve, like she always smells so nice. I can't remember what he said, but he always had those sorts of lines of like, how would a dog think about her, how she moves her hips or the perfume she wears? She must wash and groom herself all the time. And I think that for me is the main problem with it, is it just. And I don't know. It was funny because I was thinking about this. I'm like, I don't think if they had made this an animated film and the dog was as interested in racing as he is and understands the people like he does, I feel like it would have had less a problem. But because he is, like I said, essentially a human in dog form, I can't buy it when it's a live action film. And again, it's not Kevin Costner so much that bothers me. It's just the way that the lines play, like the dialogue just, I couldn't with the dialogue. It was always at a level that just for me was just so so designed to just get that go for that reaction.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree on all counts. I think I definitely don't want to discount the perils of the script, of the dog voice not understanding certain things like smells and grooming, but also having an Oxford vocabulary. That's problematic. I think Kevin Costner's voice was probably the wrong. Like there might have been someone who could straddle the flashback energy and do that. In that regard, it feels like Kevin Costner was stunt casting to me. But I can move on from that. Milo Ventimiglia. This is an area where I may be an island, but I really, really liked him in Heroes. And so that bought a certain amount of patience for me in this movie, because I just like the guy and I want to see him succeed in stuff. And here we are in this movie where he gets a chance to play a role that I think is interesting. I'd like to see him behind the wheel of a car in a proper racing movie and see what that looks like. And so I was able to kind of meter my inner critic head for at least 40 minutes before it got too loud. What'd you think of Milo?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's fine. I've generally enjoyed like when I've seen him in films or TV shows, like, and I generally think of him as a TV guy. Like Gilmore Girls, I think is probably where I first saw him. Heroes for sure, and I didn't watch it, but I know This Is Us was like a big thing for a lot of people and a big role for him, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's along with The Company You Keep, which is a newer show that he's done. So I know that he's very, very, very popular in a lot of these the TV circles and everything. I don't know. I guess I think that he's fine. Like, and you know, ask me about any of the other actors in the film, I'm probably going to say, yeah, I think they're fine. I think they're doing the job that is asked of them in this film. But you know, it's this film, it's this script. You know, it's this story, and no matter how good I think they do in the role, I'm gonna just struggle with the fact that they're delivering pretty. It's just a pretty easy story to crank out. Like Simon Curtis directed this, and I don't know if it really required much work, because like you do a dog story, especially one like this where it's told from the dog's perspective, and I just feel like it's kind of like easy pickings. And I just, you know, I mean, yeah, Milo is fine. I didn't feel like the role required a whole lot.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't need to pull apart every character performance. I'm bullish on Milo, and so I'm fine moving on, because I'm exactly the same place. I think everybody else is fine. The one sort of underserved character in the movie, which makes for, I think, my favorite part, and it's a weird spike of a high point in this movie, is delusional dancing giraffe. Which
giraffe? From zebra.
I mean, zebra. Yeah, zebra. Yeah. Which was a hard left turn in this movie that I did not see coming, and I loved it. I loved that the dog has an imaginary arch villain.
It was the one element that really stood out in this film of like, okay, they're doing something unique here that was kind of fun. Like, again, it's scripted in a way where he first gets the zebra, or the the daughter first gets a stuffed zebra, and it sets up like this arch nemesis. Like I knew it was always going to be the zebra. Is a little much, but it allowed for the way that insanity would play out in the story.
Yeah.
That brings me to a question I had as I was watching. There are a number of questions, but like the one that I thought was like, is this real? Suddenly, because basically what happens is mom gets sick. Dad is off at a race. Mom gets sick, has to take the daughter to her parents so that she can either go to the hospital or just, find a place to chill, and forgets about the dog, leaves the dog behind. And the dog is just like, well, thank goodness that dogs have this ability to survive on very little food for so long. I'm like, what? What is this? And I've been trying to Google. I'm like, is this a thing? Can dogs survive a prolonged period of time with no food? And it's just like people. It's like, you're kind of starving, but it's like, I don't know. It was such
until you run out of water in the toilet. The water's the problem. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But still, it was such a weird point to bring up. And I don't know, the way that it was scripted, like I laughed out loud when he said that. I was like, thank God I can go along. Thank God dogs are designed to go a long time without food. I'm like,
right.
What?
What? Dogs are really special, Andy. You didn't know? So special.
But I guess it was just designed to give us that sense that he ends up in a delusional state, sees this zebra that torments him, and basically puts him in a place where he's destroying all the daughter's stuffed animals in her room, which played fine, and it was kind of funny. At the same time, we have it come back again as he's kind of signing away the custody to his in-laws, and then the pen is one of those kid pens that has the little floating thing inside, which happens to be a zebra. That's his clue to rip up the contract. Like all of these things, I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
But hallucinating with the zebra, that was one moment. I'm like, okay, I don't know what is going on with this crazy film. Very strange.
But I was hoping it would. Yeah, I was hoping it would continue that vibe in some way, shape, or form. Like, it just was a movie that did not take any risks. It's overall super controlled, constrained, wholesome, kind of melancholic. It just didn't seem to fully embrace any one identity in favor of being a lot of things. And I think the zebra is case example number 105 of that, of not committing to any uniqueness in this movie. They didn't even really commit to uniqueness of the relationship with the dog to the car. I mean, I thought that there was an emotional high point, a taut heartstring moment when at the very end he takes the dog to the track and gives him a drive in the race car. I was not moved by it, but I saw what it was trying to do. I saw what they were trying to do. And I've thought about my dog like in that way, thinking, oh, I'm sure he wants X right now. I just don't know if I want to go race around a track in your race car convertible is an answer that I would ever come to. But I like that that it felt at home in this kind of movie.
Well, it was very much exactly what in this world about a race car driver. Of course, he thinks his dog wants to come out on a final race around the track with him. But it did make me like there were a lot of unintentional laugh moments for me throughout the film. And I know for other people, like, I mean, I've read people's reviews on Letterboxd and places, and people are like talking about how much they're weeping throughout these moments in the film. And so, I mean, it's clear sign to me that it just didn't work for me, but it really taps into something with everybody else. But
it makes you feel like a monster.
I'm just like, my God, he's driving this dog around. Does the dog just die in the seat next to him while he's driving? Like, that's what it seems like.
What if he wrecks?
well, to this dog, it just like it fades to white or whatever it does. I'm like, I think the dog just died in the seat while he's driving. Like it's just like dark story. Yeah. So it just had a lot of things that made me questioning like character actions, like things that just felt so designed. Like when the father-in-law, is being pushy about getting Denny to, sign the paperwork so that they can have custody rights, and is like grabbing his arm, and Denny just like pulls his arm out. Of course, the dad falls, hurts himself, and now he's suing. It's just like, it was just so predictable. And that was my issue. It's just like, I knew everything where this story was going to go. It's just like, I don't know. It played in the most predictable way possible. And for me, that just doesn't work. I know for a lot of people, they really tap into that because they can just go along for the ride. But for me, I could not get into it because everything was just predictable from start to finish.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I was curious to see that Patrick Dempsey was one of the producers on it. And I guess that's because he was originally back in 2009, so 10 full years before the film was made. He actually, when Universal bought the rights to the book, he was on board to actually play Denny. And I don't know if he was only on as a producer just in a cursory way because of that connection that he had at those early days, but or if he actually stayed on board and ended up producing. But I thought that was interesting. And I know, and he is another of these actors who is huge in the world of racing. Like he loves to do his own racing and stuff, right? Didn't you say in one of our conversations, like he's somebody who's like been on a team or something?
Oh yeah. He's a big racing guy.
Yeah.
In terms of celebrities that go into racing, he's one of the big ones.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess just as a side note, or before we kind of shift the conversation, but what's interesting about this book that Garth Stein wrote, the original book that the film was based on, the book ended up getting on some lists as far as getting banned. Did you hear about all of this?
Getting banned for what? Treasonous dog behavior?
I guess there's a situation in the book where the character where Denny ends up in a situation where there's some girl who accuses him, like a fan or something, accuses him of touching her or something inappropriate, and a school banned it because they felt that it was too much for students to be looking at. But I guess and Stein came back and said, I think that it's important for students to be aware that this is they're 10th graders. Like, things happen, people do things, and this is the way that the world can work sometimes. And I don't know if there was, I don't know what the resolution was, but I thought that was actually interesting. Likewise, in a school in a school district in Utah, they also said sensitive materials. It was in their list of books with sensitive materials, and so they also banned the book. Yeah.
I think the biggest offense that I have so far heard is that the character of Clutch the cat from the book was written out of the movie. That's right, Andy. There was a cat in the book.
Did the cat also enjoy racing and watching TV with did they have dialogues?
Erased from history, Andy. We'll never know. Also, I haven't read the book.
You're going to have to read the book now, Pete.
I know.
Add it to your reading list.
The one thing that we haven't talked about, too, is that I don't remember why we started talking about Martin Donovan the other week. Why did we talk about Martin Donovan the other week?
I don't
because
think we did.
You mentioned something about that crazy movie that I made you watch when we were in college called Surviving Desire.
Oh, was he? Yeah, he was in that.
That was him. He was the professor who fell for one of his students and did the wonky dance scene in the alley.
Well,
And
that was when we were talking about our new season, because you have a David Mamet film on our list.
I do. That's right. Okay, good. Well, that's the connection. Martin Donovan is the evil, evil father-in-law who draws the fowl in the flower pot in this movie, and it's not great. Not a great look for him.
I was curious in the scope of the law, and this is where my brain was because I wasn't connecting with the film. I was like, can a wife be made to testify? I was like, I thought that they weren't allowed to testify on behalf of or against their spouse because, well, I know you can't like make a spouse testify against their spouse because of that connection that they are more likely to lie. But I didn't think, I was curious, like, can you actually even have them on the stand, or are they ever considered trustworthy in a case with like this? And I guess you can. I guess you can.
Well, especially because it was the dad that wanted her to testify. She was the witness.
They can't be made to testify against their spouse, but they can testify for their spouse. You can't make them do it, but they can if they want to.
Yeah. And she did both. She wanted to, testified on his behalf, and then turncoated. She was a Benedict Arnold on the stand.
Well, we had to learn that Denny is the better person in every situation, Pete.
Every situation. We had to get a reaction shot of Denny nodding solemnly at her across the courtroom.
Yeah. And then allowing them both into the birthday party.
Yep.
See, he's just a good person all around.
He's the bigger man everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
And Martin Donovan must be taught a lesson.
But bigger than all of them, Pete, is Enzo, who ends up getting reincarnated as a kid.
I don't know, Andy. I don't know about that.
It's not a film made for me. It's fair to say I absolutely hated it. And but I'm not
absolutely hated it.
Absolutely hated it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying it's a bad film. There are plenty of people it's made for, but 100% not me. That's where I sit with this one.
All right. Well, that's great. I think that was enough.
Okay. All right. Shall we move on?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. We'll be right back. But first, our credits.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM. Engineering by Andy Nelson. Music by Dorben Lulu and Amatai Man. Super Nito, Everett Z, Oriole Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show.
All right. This is me. As a faithful canine companion, I've always been fascinated by my human's love for movies. I may not understand every word or image that flickers across the screen, but I can sense the profound joy and excitement that films bring to my master's life. It all started when I noticed my human spending countless hours on a website called Letterboxd. At first, I wasn't sure what to make of it. After all, I'm just a dog, and the intricacies of human technology often escape me. But as I watched my master log films, write thoughtful reviews, and connect with other movie enthusiasts, I began to grasp the significance of this peculiar passion. Through Letterboxd, I've seen my human discover new films, engage in lively discussions, and find a sense of belonging within a community of fellow cinephiles. The happiness that radiates from my master during these moments is unmistakable, and it fills my canine heart with warmth and contentment. I may not be able to read the glowing reviews or appreciate the nuances of well-crafted film, but I understand the importance of pursuing one's passions, and Letterboxd, it seems, has become an integral part of my human's journey through the world of cinema. If you're a movie lover like my master, I highly recommend exploring the wonders of Letterboxd for yourself. By upgrading to a pro or patron membership, you'll gain access to exclusive features that will enhance your experience, such as personalized stats pages, the ability to filter your activity feed, and the option to select your favorite poster and backdrop for any film. As a bonus, if you're a listener of The Next Reel, you can receive a special 20% discount on your Letterboxd membership, regardless of whether you're a new or renewing member. Simply visit thenextreel.com/letterboxd or use the code NEXTREEL when signing up, and you'll be well on your way to joining a vibrant community of film lovers. Take it from a loyal dog who has witnessed the transformative power of Letterboxd firsthand. If movies are your passion, this is an opportunity you won't want to miss. Sign up today and embark on a journey of cinematic discovery, just like my master did. As you lose yourself in the magic of Letterboxd, creating lists, sharing your thoughts, and connecting with like-minded individuals, remember that you're not just watching movies, you're becoming a part of something greater. And if you ever need a reminder of the joy that comes from pursuing your love for film, just picture me, a contented canine curled up at my master's feet, basking in the warmth of a life well lived.
And then you strike your master down and take his place by my side.
Wow, you just went dark with that. Jedi dog.
Okay, awards, Andy. Did it have any awards? So many awards. Best dog in film?
You know, I am surprised that there isn't an award thing out there for like animal movies. Like, you know, the ASPCA needs to start up like their own awards show, just focusing on the animals in film that year.
100% that needs to happen.
Yeah, but there are none. This film got bupkis. Not a single nomination for this movie.
All right. Well, I guess we need to talk about the numbers, how to do at the box office. Weird timing for this movie.
Curtis had a budget of $18 million for his dog racing movie, or $22.3 million in today's dollars. The movie opened August 9th, 2019, opposite Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Dora and the Lost City of Gold, The Kitchen, The Angry Birds Movie 2, and Brian Banks, along with the limited release of The Peanut Butter Falcon. The movie went on to earn $26.4 million domestically and $7.4 million internationally for a total gross of $41.9 million in today's dollars. That lands the film with an adjusted profit per finished minute of just under $180,000. A decent enough win, I suppose, for this little movie.
It was the timing was funny. It was because it was released right on the tail of Disney's acquisition of Fox. And I think there were people who thought it would be buried. Like it would be either buried, not released, whatever. But, you know, clearly it found some attention. They let it go. Yeah. So, yeah.
It was the first film that they released under that new ownership.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, it's a bit of an anemic kind of whimper on our way out the door for this season in terms of the last movie of our last series.
There's, you know what? We're adding on, as we've said, another surprise episode that we'll release to members, but we'll also end up releasing it to the public just as a nice little way to finish things out.
Good.
And finish this series and season both.
Worth it.
I hope so. Your comments made me nervous.
No. Okay.
Your comments made me nervous that it's that might not be made for me. It might be made for race fans.
Oh God, I can't wait. I want you. Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to talk about it right now.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be right back for our ratings, but first, we are at this point where it's the end of the season. And as I just said, we're having a surprise member bonus episode, which is F1, Joseph Kosinski's new movie. Perfect fit for the series. So expect that at the end of the month, along with our other regular member bonus episode. But we are off for the month of July and back early August with the first film of our next season, our 15th season. That's right, Pete. Kicking things off with a return to the John Wick series, looking at the latest film, Ballerina.
Okay,
or should I
my
say,
turn.
The world of John Wick, Ballerina.
Yeah.
From the world of John Wick. I hope that's not the actual title of the film. From the world of John Wick, Ballerina.
That's the worst.
Just like F1. Right now it's listed as F1, the movie. I'm like, I hope that's not the title. Like, what a dumb title. Pete's having interruptions.
My house just got very loud all of a sudden. So,
gotcha.
Okay. Did you say something I should respond to humorously?
I was just talking about, I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, I was talking about the F1, the movie, just how I hope that's not the actual title. Just like,
I think the actual title is F1 from the world of cars. No.
Or
All right.
does his car talk to him? That would be a trip. Like if he started actually having a conversation. They've never shown it in the trailer, but what if Brad Pitt and his car actually have conversations with each other?
They're best friends.
Like a little face on the steering wheel, and they talk while they're driving?
Yeah, it's got a real Knight Rider vibe.
Oh, wow. This is great.
Do you want me to do my ad?
Yeah, you're the one who keeps going. Yeah.
I mean, if you want me to, I will. All right. Hi, I'm Clutch. Yes, Clutch the cat. Denny and Enzo's cat. The one you didn't see in the movie. That's because I was completely forgotten, written out, abandoned, left behind while they raced around the world learning life lessons in the rain. Meanwhile, I was at home, alone, staring at an unplugged floor lamp and slowly dying of ennui. But sure, give the dog a voiceover and a reincarnation arc. Very original. Look, if you don't want to be forgotten, if you want to be part of something, then just go to truestory.fm/join and support the shows you love. You'll get your own podcast feed with early access to episodes. You'll get ad-free versions, in-episode bonus content that doesn't leave you out just because you use a litter box. You'll also get periodic bonus episodes, access to exclusive channels in the Discord server, live stream recording sessions, and sometimes, and I cannot stress this enough, random stickers in the mail. You can't lick them, but you can hoard them, which is a joy all its own. So join the cool humans at truestory.fm/join. Support the podcast you love. Help them remember the forgotten. And if you see Denny and Enzo, tell them I knocked their trophies off the shelf. And I knew what I was doing the whole time.
While you were reading that, I was trying to find information about Clutch the cat. And the only place that mentions it is a forum that briefly mentions it. And it just makes me wonder if this cat appears once in the book and never again. And I just love that now you've done this whole thing focusing on the cat. It's pretty funny.
Don't give me an inch, Andy. Don't give me an inch.
I don't think you needed an inch. I think all you needed was a millimeter. Oh, too funny.
All right. Shall we do Letterboxd?
We shall.
Letterboxd, Andy. That's where you can find us over at letterboxd.com/thenextreel. That's our HQ page. Andy, you absolutely hated this movie. I believe those were the words.
Those were the words I said, yes.
So 3 stars? Probably no heart. Quibbles?
I would, again.
Is it 3 stars and some kibbles?
Wow. Yeah. You just went there. This is just 100% not my type of film. Like it was laughable. The whole thing, just not for me. It's a half star. And, I think I'm giving it a half just because the zebra scene was just so weird. And I was laughing I was like, what the hell are they doing now? But it got a reaction out of me. So I'm going to give it a half star just for the zebra.
Are you giving it a heart?
Oh, yeah. No. What about you? Where do you sit?
I was really torn. Now that you gave it a half star, I'm rethinking how much does the zebra and my general affinity to the likable Milo Ventimiglia earn in terms of stars. It doesn't get a heart. Let me just say that right off the jump. I think I'm probably going to land at a star. No, 2 stars. I'm going to give it. No, it's a star. I take it back. It's a star. Why would I want to waste a star on another movie? I'm never coming back to this movie. I'm not coming back to it. I don't need it
quite
in
the
my
kiddie
life.
roller coaster ride.
Yeah, I'm glad it exists for those people who love it. Have all the fun you want.
No, totally. I agree.
But if you're looking for a driving movie, go find a driving movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Just not Le Mans.
Go watch Ronin.
Wow. All right. Well, that averages out to 0.75, 3/4 of a star, which will round up to 1 over at our account on Letterboxd at The Next Reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film. You can find Pete there at Pete Wright. So what did you think about The Art of Racing in the Rain, and how wrong are we? We would love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel over in our Discord community, where we will be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Letterboxd giveth Andrew,
as Letterboxd always doeth.
Which way did you go?
I went high.
Okay.
Which way did you go?
I went low.
Well, I wanted to see the other side.
Well, you know the other side. Let me guess. You
celebrate
found something
with
that really surprised you? Wink.
Of course. Do you want me to go first? Is that what you're saying?
I do.
All right. 5 stars by Lexi X. Still bawling, all caps, as I write this. What a beautiful effing movie, OMFG. Enzo's last ride was beautiful, officially being moved to my top 4.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Really surprised me with that review. Okay. I'm going to give you a half star. And this is because the person, Jasper Rains, actually saw the same movie that I did.
Okay.
Movie about a dog starter pack. Dog is found or rescued by main character. Dog narrates the movie and for some reason has the vocabulary of a tenured Oxford professor. Dog's owner falls in love with the girl. Dog does not like her and feels ignored. Dog does not understand sex and makes some funny comment about humans petting each other. Dog owner's now wife and mother of their child dies tragically. Sad funeral montage with piano ballad in the background. Big twist is that the dog is a person who's been reincarnated. I'm actually guessing that's the case in this movie from the reviews because I refuse to watch any more of it. I only managed to sit through an hour and I gave up. Why do they keep making this rubbish?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Good. It's good. That's right. We saw
There's
the same
full
movie.
Spectrum. Yep.
All right. Thanks, Letterboxd.